This is John Paul Sartre, Being in Nothingness, audiobook video 3, page 7, chapter 2, The Phenomenon of Being and the Being of Phenomenon. The appearance is not supported by any existence different from itself. It has its own being. The first being which we meet in our ontology inquiry is the being of the appearance. Is it itself an appearance? It seems so at first. The phenomenon is what manifests itself, and being manifests itself to all in some way. Since we can speak of it, and since we have a certain comprehension of it, thus there must be for it a phenomenon of being, an appearance of being, capable of description as such. Being will be disclosed to us by some kind of immediate access, boredom, nausea, etc. And ontology will be the description of the phenomenon of being as it manifests itself, that is, with intermediary. However, for any ontology, we should raise a preliminary question. Is the phenomenon of being thus achieved identical with the being of the phenomenon? In other words, is the being which discloses itself to me, which appears to me, of the same nature as the being of existence which appeared to me? It seems that there is no difficulty. Husserl has shown how an eidetic reduction is always possible. That is, how one can always pass beyond the concrete phenomenon towards its essence. For Heidegger also, human reality is ontological, that is, it can always pass beyond the phenomenon toward its being. But the passage from the particular object to the essence is a passage from homogeneous to homogeneous. It is the same for the passage from the existence to the phenomenon of being. Is passing through the existence toward the phenomenon of being actually to pass beyond it towards its being, as one passes beyond the particular red towards its essence? Let us consider further. In a particular object, one can always distinguish qualities like color, odor, etc. And proceeding from these, one can always determine the essence which they imply, as a sign implies its meaning. The totality, object essence, makes an organized whole. The essence is not in the object, it is the meaning of the object, the principle of the series of appearances which disclose it. But being is neither one of the object's qualities, capable of being apprehended among others, nor a meaning of the object. The object does not refer to being as to signification. It would be impossible, for example, to define being as a presence, since absence too discloses being, since not to be there means still to be. The object does not possess any other kind of relation. It is. That is the only way to define its manner of being. The object does not hide being, but neither does it reveal being. The object does not hide it, for it would be futile to try to push aside certain qualities of the existent in order to find the being behind them. Being is being of them all equally. The object does not reveal being, for it would be futile to address oneself to the object in order to apprehend its being. The existence is a phenomenon. This means that it designates itself as an organized totality of qualities. It designates itself and not its being. Being is simply the condition of all revelation. It is being for revealing, and not revealed being. What then is the meaning of the surpassing toward the ontological of which Heidegger speaks? Certainly I can pass beyond this table or this chair towards its being and raise the question of the being of the table or the being of the chair. But at that moment I turn my eyes away from the phenomenon of the table in order to concentrate on the phenomenon of being, which is no longer the condition of all revelation, but which is itself something revealed, an appearance which, as such, needs in turn a being on the basis of which it can reveal itself. If the being of phenomenon is not resolved in a phenomenon of being, if nevertheless we cannot say anything about being without considering this phenomenon of being, then the exact relation which unites the phenomenon of being to the being of phenomenon must be established first of all. We can do this more easily if we will consider that the whole of the preceding remarks has been directly inspired by the revealing intuition of the phenomenon of being. By not considering being as the condition of revelation, but rather being as an appearance which can be determined in concepts, we have understood, first of all, that knowledge cannot by itself give an account of being. That is, the being of the phenomenon cannot be reduced to the phenomenon of being. In a word, the phenomenon of being is ontological, in the sense that we speak of ontological proof of St. Anselm and Descartes. It is an appeal to being. It requires, as phenomenon, a foundation which is transphenomenal. The phenomenon of being requires transphenomenality of being. That does not mean that being is found hidden behind phenomenon, nor that the phenomenon is an appearance which refers to a distinct being. What is implied by the preceding consideration is that the being of the phenomenon, although coextensive with the phenomenon, cannot be subject to the phenomenal condition, which is to exist only insofar as it reveals itself, and that it consequently it surpasses the knowledge which we have of it, and provides the basis for such knowledge.